Hey everyone, I'm Lee, and today I'm going to show you how I make my animation. I've been wanting to do a video like this for a while where I record all my steps in the process and try to break it down. I hesitated for a while because number one, this is kind of hard to do and kind of hard to explain. And two, I have very little space on my computer. Like one of my hard drives is filled to the brim with footage that I have to cut up later for this video. And you may notice that I'm very new to YouTube. I just recently started posting like some of my shorter animations. I don't know how many actual tutorials I'll do, but we'll see in the future. You might be able to tell my camera's not that great, my microphone's not that great, but we're working with it. And just as a disclaimer, I want to say this won't be like a step-by-step tutorial on how to make a animation exactly like mine. I wouldn't even say this is for like Blender beginners or animation beginners. If you've been in Blender for maybe like 6+ months, you should be able to understand everything that I'm saying. But I'm not going to be like showing from the bottom up how to do an animation. That might be something I do in the future where I show very simple concepts, maybe something you can animate right after installing Blender. Although that sounds very hard to do, maybe it can be done, maybe I can teach that. But without further ado, let's get started. So the great majority of my animation ideas start off from just a song. So I'll hear a song, I'll think of something to make to it, you know, things to do on certain beats, things to do at certain times, and I just make it. I just hop in Blender and make it, you know, from start to finish. So in this animation, the song I'm going to be using is Missing Love by Proux. I know it kind of looks like Prue, but I hit up the artist to ask if I could use this song in my animation, and he said this is how you pronounce his artist name. So if you want to skip this part, that's fine. I'll have this video cut up in the chapter so you can skip to the next one. But I'm going to kind of detail my thought process as I'm listening to the song and tell you how I came to this idea that I made. So sometime last week, I was just in the shower while I had my Future Funk playlist going, and this song came on. I heard it before, but mostly while I was like doing work. But since I was in the shower, I had a chance to like really listen. In the shower isn't where I think of all my ideas. It just happened to be where I thought of this one. So I'll play the clip for you so you can kind of hear where I'm coming from. So you can see it's very funky, very, you know, very vibey. So this clip peaks in the very middle where the beat hits just right. And it's almost like it's being built up to, like something's supposed to happen on that beat. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And so right there in the middle there, I knew something like, you know, something exciting has to happen, something climactic, something fun. Not only are you just grooving, like you're flying, you're launching. I don't know if you guys get that feeling, but that's the vibe I get from this. So my very first thought was to maybe do something Spider-Man themed, where I make my character like a spider sona and, you know, make him a suit. And people who played the latest Spider-Man games will know what I'm talking about. Spider-Man's able to do this move called a point launch, where he kind of zips to a certain point and kind of throws himself forward with all his weight and momentum off of like one point. There's like slight screen shake, there's motion blur, there's a little like puff of air that comes out from where he launches from. It's a really cool effect. And so I can loop the animation by, you know, him swinging, point launch, swinging, and you know, the city will loop over, the music will loop over, he'll end up in the same place, you know, where he's swinging. I thought that'd be a really cool idea, but I thought that might take me a little longer to loop a city, to loop the swinging just right, and I feel like I'd get really detailed with the spider sona and the suit and all the intricacies. So I was like, that might take too much time, let me, you know, do something a little easier. So the next thing that I thought of, which is what I ended up doing, was kind of like a continuous looping rail grind. And for those of you that have like played Sonic games, you'll know whenever you know, hop on a rail, he'll just kind of grind. There's sparks flying out of his feet. It's kind of a cool guy move, you know, I don't need roads, I don't need a sidewalk. Give me that rail. And so instead of like doing it down a hill, I thought that'd be cool to like do it like around a building, looping down a building. So I thought I could kind of make something like that with like the spiral presets in Blender. And so that's it. I've got my idea. You know, I'll be rail grinding in a spiral motion down a building. And so the idea for the climactic thing to happen on the beat, it won't be as exciting as like a Spider-Man point launch, but I wanted to do something kind of silly and funny. You know, my character's wearing sunglasses and, you know, on the beat he takes off the glasses and he already has another one on underneath and he throws the other ones away, and, you know, that just keeps looping. So like I said, not as cool, but, you know, it's silly, it's funny, it's a meme, haha. So I've got my idea, I'm gonna hop into Blender. So I started by importing the same city I put together for a previous commission. The bigger buildings I made myself, but the smaller ones were part of a city asset pack made by Scene Filler. I'll link that below. In the middle of the city, I started messing around with curves to get like a good shape for my building. I thought the Archimedean spiral type was the best. If you don't see spiral curves in your Add Curves menu, you can access them by enabling the built-in Extra Objects add-on in Blender. It should be already built in if you go to your add-on settings, so there should be nothing to download. After messing around with the spirals some more, I learned you can get kind of a cool effect by tilting all the points in a curve. So to tilt the points, you'll have to go into edit mode, select all the points, and press Ctrl T. And then as you move your mouse, all the points will tilt. And if you tilt them at exactly 360 degrees, you can get a perfect loop. Soon learned there wasn't really a way to animate this action, but I found out that curves also have like a little shape key section. So I just created a base, made a key, tilted the point 360 degrees, and now when I change the shape key value, the spiral tilts in a perfect loop. Next, I made a copy of the spiral to be the grind rail and just lowered the depth and extrusion. After this, I was trying to test out a follow path constraint on a cube. It didn't really work out for the cube or the camera. The rotations were off. So I had to figure out another way to get my character to ride the rail later. But I was happy with the main building and wanted to start on changing my character's outfit for this animation. The only thing I had in mind for a new outfit is a jacket that floated in the wind. The rest was just kind of winging it. After I was done, I heavily subdivided the jacket and put a displacement modifier on it with the coordinates set to an empty so I could control it a bit easier. It does not look as good as rigging up the jacket or even, putting a simple cloth modifier on it. It was fast and was good enough to me. After that, I started coloring the main building. The spiral is going to have a simple metallic material, and I was going to animate the colors later. For the middle part, I nabbed this texture from alec.fbx's Patreon, which I will also link below. Then I started to make roughness and emissive maps of this texture so that I can either make the windows reflective or bright. After that, I put a metallic material on the grind rail as well, then selected all the edge rings, beveled them, and gave them an emissive flashing material. Now that the building is done, I can begin to start animating my character. I didn't think it would look as good as it did, but I just grabbed the root and both of the hands and started moving to the beat. I'll be animating my character more later, but right after this, I decided to go ahead and animate the camera. The camera movements, I try not to think too much about it. I just try to go for a cinematic look. So I went for a zoom in a bit more when the beat hits, and then zoom back out. The camera itself has a look at constraint to my character, and it's also attached to an empty. And then that empty is attached to my character as well. So wherever my character goes, the camera will go and look at my character. Once I got the camera animated, I started on getting my character to appear as if he's grinding down the rail. Really, I just had to move him down at the same speed that the rail looks like it's moving down. So technically everything else in the scene is spinning except for my character. I also added some sparks, the same ones that I used in my previous monkey ball animation, and just added a couple colors for variation. Then I noticed the jacket wasn't really flowing in the right direction, so I reshaped it to be flowing behind the character. I added a point light between my legs and put a noise modifier on the power animation, so the sparks kind of look like they're lighting up my body. I also added some pizzazz when I removed my sunglasses, so I just made some stars out of planes and put an emissive texture on it. I tried to get the rail grinding sound from Sonic Adventure Battle 2, but it did not sound that great alongside the music. After all that was a lot more character animation and a lot of tweaking, but I was happy with what I ended up with in the end. To add the stepped animation look, I selected all the bones, went to the pose menu, animation, bake action, and increased the steps to 5. Then I set the interpolation mode to constant between all of the keyframes. And it all looked fine to me. I'd say this is exactly what I pictured in my head. So I rendered it all out, brought the PNG sequence into DaVinci Resolve, mixed it with the audio, and rendered it in MP4. If you'd like to see my render and output settings from Blender, feel free to open up the blend file, which will be linked below. So that's pretty much it. I know it was a lot, it was pretty high level. I know a lot of it could be done better, but this way is, comfy for me and kind of enables me to make these very quickly. I don't see myself detailing like a future animation like keyframe by keyframe, just because like even something like this was a lot to break down. It was like a little bit more draining than I thought it would be, but at least you know the process now, at least you know these aren't being made by some robot every other day, and I hope that you learned something, and I hope that this video made at least a little bit of sense, and yeah, until next time.